Hello, my name is Rosie and welcome to my presentation. My idea is to build a fairer financial future for sufferers and survivors of domestic violence and abuse, also known as DVA. This is a cause very close to my heart and something I'm extremely passionate about as I've experienced DVA for 9 years. I'm experiencing financial abuse and I'm soon to be a survivor, which is something I'm proud of. Today, we will cover off the challenges of domestic abuse, in particular, what banks can do to help, my idea and how I believe it will make a difference, who it will benefit and how it will benefit, and how I'm going to do that. Domestic abuse is a serious problem and we've seen a rise in cases since the pandemic. We've also seen a rise in cases through other events, such as football tournaments, which is making people fear for their safety. So what is domestic abuse? It's not just physical, it's a whole variety of abuses, such as sexual, tech, psychological, and one we often see in banking, financial. DVA statistics tell us that in the year end of March 2020, 2.3 million UK adults experienced domestic abuse. And since the pandemic, there's been a 65% increase in calls due to domestic abuse. The financial impact of domestic abuse is massive. The Home Office predicts that annually this impacts around £70 billion. And KPMG also suggests that businesses lose £300 million a year due to economic output. 1 in 5 British women experience financial abuse, and many, like myself, have to give up their home. This doesn't just impact the individual. This also impacts the people around them, such as their families, their workplaces, and their employers, due to low productivity and mental health issues. So what is my proposal? My idea is made up of 3 main parts, starting with raising awareness and implementing training to staff to help recognise, support, and treat DVA sufferers fairly. I'm working very closely with HR and we've enrolled already one of our training courses with more to follow. I'm also working on an e-learning course which will be mandatory for all staff annually. By the end of September, we will have provided specialised training to our wellbeing advocates and frontline staff across the whole group using charities and our partners. I'm also working very closely with Vulnerability and Conduct to update our website as well as our internal intranet site with useful information. This includes stuff such as who can support our sufferers and what the bank can do to help. Secondly, I'm bringing in 2 policy changes which I believe will make a difference. I'm bringing in a DVA policy to help sufferers in customers as well as colleagues, and the first draft has been completed. This is under review, but is to go live at the end of 2021. This includes information such as what is domestic abuse, spotting the red flags, how to treat the individual, as well as what we can do to support them as a bank. The colleagues version will also include flexible working, extra annual leave, and how we can keep you safe in the workplace as well as working from home. I'm also currently updating processes and procedures that are already in place to treat DVA sufferers fairly. One important part of my idea is enhancing our credit policy. DVA sufferers, like myself, receive poor credit records due to no fault of their own, and they are unable to obtain lending. This can be as minor as not being able to get a phone contract out in their own name. With my idea, I believe we can provide supportive information to lenders using GP letters and other reliable sources to confirm DVA has taken place, which is why the credit scoring is low. This should give lenders the comfort that they need to look at the lending capabilities and capacities rather than just a negative credit scoring. I'm working with our Chief Risk Officer on this. And lastly, I believe my idea can be rolled out to all financial institutions and I'm liaising with UK Finance on this via the Economic Working Group. I also believe my idea can be rolled out into other sectors, such as credit referencing agencies and utility companies, and I've started some discussions with these already. I'm delighted to say that I'm working very closely with a credit referencing agency where we're looking at the open banking platform functionality to provide holistic information to lenders to go alongside a credit scoring. With all the information collaborated together using bank accounts, it will include income and expenditure, surplus, savings, regular bill payments, as well as other factors that will look at the positive information to show that these individuals can repay instead of using a poor credit scoring. As I say, this idea is only in the early stages, but I believe it's a prime example of when we talk, collaborate, and work together, that we can tackle real life problems. I've been working on my idea now since March, and I've done so much work. I've been encouraged by the support of my colleagues at all levels, as well as external parties. The timelines that I put in place here, I believe, are reasonable and achievable. As I say, there is 3 main points to my ideas, and they are being prioritised. However, after speaking to some great people, and while putting my ideas in place, I've realised there's further gaps and further things that we can do to help sufferers and survivors of domestic abuse, and I'm looking at these in phase 2. There is a lot of elements to my idea, so I've created a fictional story called Sarah, which will show why my ideas are put in place, how they can benefit. Sarah is 32 years old and has left her partner after experiencing several years of domestic abuse, including financial abuse. Sarah has had to leave her joint mortgaged property and is now living back with her parents. Her abuser is still living in the property, but is refusing to leave, refusing to sell, and refusing to pay. Due to this, Sarah is unable to keep up with the repayments on her own, and is causing mispayments, which means her credit scoring is being affected. Sarah goes online to see how she can get a credit card and a car loan in her own name, and she comes across some useful information on domestic abuse on her bank's website. Sarah visits her local branch where she meets Charlie. Charlie spots some red flags in Sarah, as well that she's in a vulnerable state, and takes her to a private room so he can listen and be supportive. Sarah is very nervous about sharing her story, but opens up to Charlie about her struggles and asks whether she can get a credit card and a car loan in her own name, even though she has poor credit scoring. From the DVA policy, the credit policy, as well as Charlie's training, he's able to support Sarah the right way. He tells Sarah that if she provides a letter from her GP or other reliable source confirming DVA has taken place, this will go alongside her credit scoring. He also asks Sarah permission to use the open banking functionality to look at her repayment capacity, rather than just looking at her poor credit scoring. Sarah agrees. Sarah also agrees for Charlie to take note of their conversation, put an additional support flag on the account, as well as get John from the credit team to give her a call. John calls Sarah the next day and reviews her application. He takes account of Sarah's domestic abuse situation as confirmed by her GP's letter, which explains her poor credit record. This allows John to consider Sarah's repayment ability, which is supported by the new credit reference agency report, which confirms Sarah's regular income, shows that she pays her bills and has a surplus at the end of the month. John confirms approval of the car loan and the credit card. The open banking platform, he can tell that Sarah is fully able to make the repayments and approves the loans. After he reviews the information from the enhanced Equifax report, which presents a holistic view of Sarah's financial position, he can see that Sarah can afford. During the lending process, Sarah gets regular updates and calls from her bank, which keeps her anxiety low. Sarah receives her credit card through the post quickly, where she's able to buy essentials. She's also able to buy a car to help rebuild her life. Sarah feels supported by her bank, and she's able to keep them up to date on her mortgage repossession. Charlie and John also experience positive outcomes from this. This is because they've helped someone that's vulnerable and that they've done the right thing. I truly believe that my idea will benefit many vulnerable people. Customers and colleagues experiencing domestic abuse will receive the support they truly require. Colleagues will also be aware of the issue, have the adequate training, and be able to support their customers. They will also receive the satisfaction that they're doing the right thing. AIB will show leadership in the community by showing that we understand the consequences of domestic abuse. This also demonstrates that we understand real-life problems and the need for change to help vulnerable people like domestic abuse sufferers, including financially, which could cause poverty. Sufferers and survivors of DVA will also be given the opportunity to have a voice, the opportunity to rebuild their lives, and the opportunity to be supported so they can get through to the other side. The economy and employers will also benefit through better productivity and cost saving, as there'll be more staff back at work, whereas before they'd have to take time off due to the anxiety and stresses this causes. I'd like to thank you for your time, thank you for listening to me, and thank you for giving me a voice. I hope I've demonstrated how passionate I am about this topic and the need for financial institutions to make the changes so many people, like myself and thousands of others, can have a voice and rebuild their lives.